Tottenham did to Mura, then you get criticised and you get slaughtered. But the point is, there's a trophy there. You know, Tottenham haven't won a trophy for ages. Go and win one. You know, for Leicester, I know they've had some success under Brendan, massively overachieved, and Brendan won't want to be in this competition. You know, Europa League was the minimum, Champions League is where they want to be. But they'll be one of the best teams left in it, and they could easily go win it. I know it won't be one they'll hang out in front as a trophy if they win it.
You never know.
But still,
might go on the mantelpiece.
You've got to celebrate if you win something. So I know Brendan's a bit disappointed where they're at right now, but they could easily win this competition.
It's still a European trophy, Michael, and it's also a route to the Europa League if you win it as well. And depending where they are in the Premier League table come February might determine how seriously they take this, do you think?
Yeah, I think it'll be suck it and see in many ways. I also think it's the first time this trophy is going to be lifted, so it'd be nice to have your club name on the trophy as the first ever winner in 50 years' time. You never know where these competitions will be in the pecking order, of course. At the minute, it's not one that you want to win ahead of, Europa League or Champions League, but you never know where it will be. And it's a European trophy, and they don't come around too often. So, yeah, it's worth winning. You've got the squad to win it. If you're not necessarily doing great in the league, and it can earn you a Europa League place next season, then of course it's worth winning. And as Owen said, there's certain teams that are head and shoulders above others in this competition. So, why wouldn't you go and try to win it?
And have they only got themselves to blame, Joe, for the way they dropped out of the Europa League?
Leicester, it's a tough one, really. It's been difficult for Brendan and his team this year because I think they've come so far and they've got close to getting Champions League football and that's where they want to be. They've spent some money and they've fallen by the wayside a little bit. I think for Leicester, I think it's more a case where, because they've got a settled manager and they've got a settled squad, I think they can have a go at the tournament. They've got some good young players as well. I think for Tottenham, having Conte in, it's more of an annoyance because Tottenham want to establish Conte's style. So he's going to need them days on the training ground to really drill into his team how he wants them to play. Because we all know his style, and the players, it's been a bit bitty. They've sometimes taken it on board, sometimes haven't. So from Antonio Conte's point of view, he'll be wanting to just work with his team to improve the results in the Premier League. From Leicester's point of view, I think I think Brendan was venting when he said what he said. And I think once the dust settles, it's a competition. And I agree, why not go and win it? Why not have a European trophy on your name as a club? It'd be a fantastic achievement, whatever it may be. So for the two English clubs in that perspective, I think it's very different. And we're yet to see what's going to happen with Spurs.
Now let's talk about the Scottish club in that draw as well, because look who has joined us on the big screen in the studio. Chris Sutton is here. Good to see you, Chris.
Yeah, and you and the guys.
Hello, Chris.
And Chris, for Celtic, we've watched some brilliant attacking performances from them in the Europa League, haven't we? But similar to Leicester, it was the defence which cost them, which is why they're in this competition.
Yeah, a little bit. I've got to say I've enjoyed the way Celtic have played, the new manager coming in. I didn't even think that they'd get through to the Europa group stages this season, and they will feel a little bit unlucky, the fact that they've gone out on 9 points. But the defence has been their problem in European competition. But whoever Celtic get, they'll fancy it.
What does it mean for Celtic to have a continuation of European football into the new year, even if it is in the Conference League?
Yeah, look, I think that Ange Postecoglou would have taken that, the mess which he took over at the start of the season. The team are improving. What I would say at this moment in time, I think reinforcements in January are a big deal. The squad is very, very thin. But if Celtic put out their strongest 11, and we look at the draw and who they could get in the draw if this one goes smoothly, unlike the Champions League one, then I think Celtic will fancy the chances. This is a real opportunity for Celtic.
And are you happy with the way the players are settling under Postecoglou and the way he's imposing his style on the team?
I love his brand of football. It is front foot. He doesn't change the way he plays. Yes, they've conceded goals in European competition, and that has been an issue. But he just goes for it, which makes Celtic a dangerous proposition. Now, I don't think it'll be interesting to see whether Tottenham get thrown out of the tournament or whatever. But I'd love eventually to see Celtic take on one of the English teams, because the English teams would hate that. What an opportunity that would be for Celtic.
Yeah, Chris, thank you for now. We'll talk to you after the draw. We'll let you go and watch that in peace. Looking very festive there as well. Oh, and a quick word on Tottenham, though. They are in this draw, but they couldn't find a date to rearrange this fixture with Rennes. So it feels like it's going to probably be impossible for them to continue.
Well, let's be honest. If they wanted to rearrange it, Lindsay, they could have. You know, they obviously probably don't really want to be in the competition, because if this was the Champions League tie, they'd do everything, move heaven and earth to rearrange it so they could play it. I know it could affect the cup fixture, or maybe they could have rearranged a league fixture, but obviously they're not going to do that. And eventually, because they're not going to play this game, they're probably going to get thrown out of the competition. And as Joe mentioned, they can focus on the Premier League. Being in this is maybe they see as a bit of a burden. If they lose to a smaller team, they get absolutely hammered. And they obviously don't want to be in it anymore by the looks of it.
Yeah, they've got 2 Premier League fixtures to rearrange as well, haven't they? In Burnley and Brighton as well. But it is now time for the draw for the Europa Conference League playoffs, as these teams attempt to try and make the last 16 of this competition. So let's go back to Pedro Pinto in Switzerland.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the House of European Football here in Lyon, where we will be holding the draw for the UEFA Europa Conference League knockout round playoffs. This draw will feature the 8 runners-up from the UEFA Europa Conference League group stage, who will be drawn to play the 8 third-place teams from the UEFA Europa League group stage. The winners of these knockout round ties will move through to the round of 16, where the teams who finish top of their groups following the conclusion of the UEFA Europa Conference League group stage lay in wait. All the teams in today's draw have the same aim of trying to make it through to the first ever Europa Conference League final, which will take place in Tirana on the 25th of May 2022. There are plenty of top clubs who've graced the upper echelons of European football in the past. For example, Olympique Marseille, Celtic and Psv have all won the European Cup, the predecessor of the UEFA Champions League. Partizan Belgrade have qualified for the knockout stages of a UEFA club competition for the first time since the 2017-18 season, when they reached the round of 32 of the UEFA Europa League. Meanwhile, PAOK make a welcome return to the knockout stages after a 5-year wait, while Midtjylland have ended their own 6-year hiatus. I could go on, but rather than hearing from me, let's take a quick look at the best moments so far from all the teams who have qualified for the knockout round playoffs. Some great action there, and we look forward to more of the same next year. The question is, who will take on who in the next round? That's exactly what we're going to find out very shortly. Time to invite on stage the man who will be conducting the draw proceedings, and that's the UEFA Deputy General Secretary, Giorgio Marchetti.
Hello, Pedro. Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start by congratulating all clubs who have qualified for this stage of the competition, and I wish you every success over the course of the season. The UEFA Europa Conference League, which is in its debut season, is certainly achieving its main aims. It has been welcomed by the vast majority of players, clubs and fans from across our continent. Aside from giving more players the chance to experience European football, which can only help to develop their footballing careers, the UEFA Europa Conference League is also giving clubs an additional chance to win a European trophy. Congratulations in particular to Bodo Glimt, Karabag and Randers. This is the first time in their history that they have managed to qualify from the group stage of a UEFA club competition and make it through to the knockout stages. This new competition also gives us the opportunity to take our finals to different national associations who have never hosted a major UEFA club competition final in the past. This year, the final will be held in Tirana at the National Arena, a magnificent new stadium which has been built just a few years ago. I'm now delighted to welcome onto the stage to assist with today's draw a player who knows more than a thing or two about the Albanian capital. Lorik, thank you very much for joining us. Lorik Zana, the ambassador of the final in Tirana. Before we move on to the draw, I would just like to take the opportunity to ask Pedro to ask a few questions to our guest.
I will indeed, Lorik. Great to see you here in Nyon. And the first question has to be, how excited are people in Albania, in Tirana, to host this final at the end of the season?
Well, as you can imagine, for a small country which is absolutely passionate about football, how beautiful it is to host a European final. We have been, let's say, dreaming about hosting such an event in our country, and then we are part of this raising countries trying to get closer to the European Union countries, and we can achieve that. We achieve that through sports as well. Now we are improving. The country is getting better and better every day. We have new facilities, and of course, to host such an event, you have to be in the level in terms of infrastructure and organization as well. So I think people just know it was about time, and I think it's pretty beautiful and pretty symbolic, like our country and our capital can host for the first time this competition, which is pretty the same in sense, and let's say as a new country to being able to participate.
I can definitely see it means a lot. I know you've been following the competition closely so far. What teams have impressed you in the early stages?
You know, when you are passionate about football, you watch a lot of football. But most of the people, they like to see the biggest stars in the continent, in the world, which is absolutely normal. But for us, which are passionate about football, we watch a lot of games. And this competition brings you the possibility to see some teams which usually you don't see in this competition. The first who came in my mind, I think, for a lot of us, is Bodo Glimt. Not only because of their impressive performance against AS Roma, but they've been constant. And there is something tickling there, so there is a lot of people watching now the team. There is a lot of scouts going to watch Bodo Glimt. And it's a pretty good example on what these competitions can bring to the people.
And that's exactly my next question, is about the significance of this new competition. How important is it, in your opinion, to have more clubs involved in more European games further into the season?
Well, Pedro, I think we use in our world the name of the European family of football, and I think this is exactly what Conference League is about. When you have the possibility to play in Champions League or in Europa League, and sometimes you want to be part of this family of European football. And having the possibility to open more about some places in Europe that brought fantastic teams and players, as is Scandinavia, as is Eastern Europe, as are the Balkans, where I'm from. It gives a possibility to people to get that dream closer and maybe to touch it. And this is something very special, and I'm really looking forward to this competition in the future.
All right, well, you're going to shine now on stage with Giorgio's help. So I'm going to pass the floor over to him, and he'll conduct the draw proceeding.
Yes, and thank you, Lorik, for your interesting thoughts about this competition. We all believe what you say, it is true. And of course, we are now looking forward to visiting Tirana in May. We are now nearly ready to commence the draw, and before we do so, I will invite Michael Hezesved, the head of UEFA Club Competitions, to assist in this draw and to first explain the technical procedure.
Thank you, Giorgio, and good afternoon. For today's draw, every runners-up from the UEFA Europa Conference League will be drawn against the teams that finished third in the UEFA Europa League group stage. Clubs from the same association cannot be drawn against each other. The UEFA Europa League clubs play the first leg at home. Each of the 8 pairings will be determined by drawing one of the UEFA Europa League clubs first, then one of the eligible runners-up. The 8 balls containing the names of the UEFA Europa League clubs are already placed in one ball in front of Giorgio, while the balls containing the names of their potential opponents are picked from the 8 different runners-up pots just here in front of me. After drawing each UEFA Europa League club, the computer will indicate which runners-up can be drawn in accordance with the conditions explained, and the relevant balls will be placed into the other ball every time. Should we have only one team eligible to be drawn against a particular UEFA Europa League club, there will be no draw and the 2 teams will be paired directly. This procedure is then repeated for all the 8 pairings. Please note that due to the fact that the match Tottenham Hotspur versus Stade Rennais FC could not be played as scheduled, Tottenham Hotspur and Vitesse will be in the draw today as potential Group G runners-up. The knockout round playoffs of the 2021-22 UEFA Europa Conference League will be played on 17th of February for the first legs and the 24th of February for the return legs. After the draw and in accordance with the competition regulations, the UEFA administration will determine the final fixture list. The results will be announced later this afternoon. That's all from the technical side. Now let me hand the floor back to Giorgio as we are ready to proceed with the draw.
Yes, we are ready to proceed with the draw. Let's take a look at the teams which will be part of the draw, starting with the seeded teams or the UEFA Europa Conference League group runners-up. We have Maccabi Tel Aviv, Partizan, FK Bodo Glimt, Renders FC, SK Slavia Praha, PAOK FC, Tottenham Hotspur or Vitesse, Karabakh. And among the unseeded teams, or those coming from the Europa League group stage, we have Sparta Praha, Psv Eindhoven, Leicester City, Fenerbahce, Olympique de Marseille, FC Midtjylland, Celtic FC and SK Rapid Wien. Everything is ready and we can go with the first of the unseeded teams, those who played in the Europa League group phase. The first one is Olympique de Marseille. For Marseille, we have all the 8 possibilities. There is no French club featuring among the seeded teams, which means that they can be allocated to one of the 8 teams which are waiting at the window to know which is their opponent. Marseille were winners of the UEFA Champions League in 1993 and appeared 3 times in the UEFA Cup, UEFA Europa League finals, with last appearance was in Lyon in 2018. Their opponents are
Karabakh FK.
So Olympique de Marseille versus Karabakh FK, the runners-up of Group H of the UEFA Conference League. Olympique de Marseille will have to watch out as Karabakh have lost only one of their 12 UEFA club competition matches this season. Psv Eindhoven. Psv Eindhoven. They can play against 6 of the remaining teams, not the one where Vitesse is in. And now for Psv Eindhoven, the pot is being prepared for the UEFA Cup winners of 1978 and the Champions Cup winners of 1988. Let's see who their opponents are.
Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Maccabi Tel Aviv will face Psv Eindhoven in this knock playoff of the UEFA Conference League. For the second successive season, Maccabi are in a UEFA Club Competition Group knockout phase. The next pairing will start with Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce, all 6 remaining teams are possible for Fenerbahce. Of course, not Karabakh and Maccabi, who have been already drawn. Fenerbahce were semi-finalists of the UEFA Europa League in 2013. And here we are.
SK Slavia Praha.
Fenerbahce versus Slavia Praha, the runners-up of Group E. A team which reached the UEFA Europa League quarter-finals in 2 of the last 3 seasons. They know what they do. The next unseeded club is FC Midtjylland. Midtjylland can play against 4 of the 5 teams left. One is Randers, and of course they cannot play against them. Midtjylland, who had the best result in 2016, reaching the round of 32 of the UEFA Europa League.
PAOK FC.
PAOK FC. So Midtjylland versus PAOK. PAOK were runners-up in Group F. And back in a knockout phase after 2016-2017. Next club is Leicester City. For Leicester, we have 3 possibilities: Partizan, Bodo Glimt or Randers. The quarter-finalists of the UEFA Champions League in 2017. Now they are going to be paired with this team.
Randers FC.
Randers FC for Leicester City. For the very first time in their history, Randers are participating in a knockout phase. They will have to take a trip to England, the city of Leicester. And we go on with Celtic FC. European champions of 1967. They can be paired with any of the 3 remaining teams. So Celtic are going to learn in a few seconds which team they are set to welcome at Celtic Park in mid-February for the first leg of this playoff round.
FK Bodo Glimt.
Bodo Glimt, so Celtic versus Bodo Glimt, the runners-up of Group C. Finished the group phase without any single defeat. And now we have Sparta Praha. Bodo Glimt still has to appear on the board next to Celtic. So we're waiting for the name of Bodo Glimt, and then we will move on. I'm sorry for the technical issue that is being experienced, but Celtic Bodo Glimt is a pairing which has already been drawn. A few seconds, I think. I'm sorry for the delay. It's a technical issue with the software. It's not sending the name of the opponents of Celtic, who are, as I remind you, Bodo Glimt, already drawn.
As we wait for that to happen, Giorgio, we have some matches already confirmed. We've got 2 ties left to draw, and now we have confirmation of Bodo Glimt joining Celtic in that tie. The situation has been resolved.
Correct. And as we have already drawn, now we have Bodo Glimt appearing on the board. And as we have already drawn Sparta Praga, we can go ahead with the 2 remaining seeded teams that can be drawn against Sparta Praga, Partizan or Tottenham or Vitesse.
FK Partizan.
So Sparta Praga will play Partizan Belgrade, the runners-up of Group B, and back in the knockout phase since the 2017-18 season. So only one pairing is left to be drawn. The pairing will include as an unseeded team SK Rapid Wien. So Rapid Wien playing their first leg at home against the only one left in the pot. We know already, but we'll see the name.
Tottenham Hotspur or Vitesse.
So Rapid Wien versus Tottenham or Vitesse. This concludes the draw. Thank you very much, Lorik, and floor back to Pedro.
Sure, thank you, gentlemen. Let's recap the results of the draw for the playoff phase of the UEFA Europa Conference League. Olympique de Marseille taking on Karabag, Psv Eindhoven, Maccabi Tel Aviv, Fenerbahce playing Slavia Praha, Midtjylland taking on PAOK, Leicester City will be facing Randers, Celtic taking on Bodo Glimt, Sparta Praha against Partizan, and Rapid Wien playing Tottenham Hotspur or Vitesse. And just to mark your calendars, I can tell you that the first legs are scheduled for the 17th of February, the return legs on the 24th of the same month. And that'll do it from all of us at the House of European Football. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy holiday season from Lorik, Giorgio, Michael and myself. It's goodbye from Nyon. See you again soon. Take care. All the best.
Thank you very much to Pedro. Confirmation then of the Europa Conference League knockout round playoff draw. Marseille will face Karabag, Psv Eindhoven against Maccabi Tel Aviv, Fenerbahce against Slavia Prague, Midtjylland up against PAOK. Leicester have drawn Randers FC from Denmark. They're 5th in the Danish league at the moment, playing in a Europa competition proper for the first time. For Celtic, it is Bodo Glimt, so they will be having a trip to Norway near the Arctic Circle. Bodo Glimt inflicted the joint heaviest defeat in Jose Mourinho's career in the group stage away in Norway, beating Roma 6-1, so not to be underestimated. It's Sparta Prague against Partizan, and Rapid Vienna will be facing Vitesse or Tottenham, but of course it could be good night Vienna to Tottenham in this competition altogether. We'll discuss all of that with Joe Cole, Michael Owen and Owen Hargreaves after the break, and we'll also look ahead again to the second Champions League draw of the day. We'll be back soon. Welcome back to BT Sport. Well, we've just had the draw for the playoff round in the Europa Conference League, and it is a tie against Bodo Glimt for Celtic. For Leicester, it's going to be Randers FC from Denmark, and Tottenham, if they find any way of staying in this competition, it will be a tie against Rapid Vienna in that draw. Owen Hargreaves, Joe Cole and Michael Owen were watching alongside me, and also back with us, Chris Sutton is here again on Zoom to talk to us. Chris, scarves at the ready for Celtic fans. How do you think they're going to feel about a trip to the Arctic Circle?
Yeah, scarves and hats. I think it's a tricky draw for Celtic. Bodo Glimt, they've been the dominant team in Norway the last couple of seasons. They were the team who smashed Jose Mourinho's Roma 6-1. So it's a tough tie, but I think it's one that Celtic will fancy.
Definitely, and we were doing Europa League highlights that night, Conference League highlights as well, and that was really probably the standout game of the group stage, that Bodo Glimt upset against Roma. Yeah, and I know that Roma weren't at their strongest that evening, but that was some statement. The manager Knutsen has done an amazing job. He's not a young manager. I think he's over 50 now, and he's done a pretty good job. Not a household name. I think he was linked with the Norwich City vacancy earlier this season, but they're going great guns in Norway, and it'll be a tough test for Celtic, no doubt about that. But one, I think that Celtic are improving this season under Ange Postecoglou, and with a few signings in January, I think Celtic will be in a pretty good place. Ola Solbakken was probably their standout player as well, Bodo Glimt, in the group stage. He scored some cracking goals, so he's one that Celtic are going to have to look out for.
Yeah, do you know what, though? I mean, it'll be an interesting game because, I think Bodo Glimt, they're a front foot team. And I said earlier, Ange Postecoglou only knows one way to play, and it is more worried about how his team can impose themselves on the opposition than the opposition. Celtic have had issues defensively in Europe, so there'll be plenty of goals in this tie.
And a bit of a blow for Celtic, wasn't there, on Thursday with injuries? Lost Kyogo, also a Jetty as well. Do you feel they're going to need reinforcements in January?
In truth, I don't think a Yeti's a big loss. Kyogo was the big one. It was a dead rubber, the game against Betis. And, the big talk north of the border, did Ange Postecoglou really need to risk Kyogo with a cup final coming up at the weekend? Some big games coming up before the Rangers game on January the 2nd. And it'll be interesting to see whether he's fit for that. Jota's out, who's been outstanding. Ange Postecoglou's signings have been very good. But if Celtic can regroup in January and get these players fit, then there's no reason why they cannot go a long way in this competition.
Well, Roma couldn't win away at Bodo Glimt. Can Celtic, Chris? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. The Celtic are getting better and better. I think the improvements they've made since the start of the season have been amazing. It's a testament to the manager. Celtic are a very exciting team to watch. You're never quite sure how they're going to defend in European competition. It's something they need to improve on. But no, I think that they'll go to Norway fancying it.
Brilliant, Chris. Good to talk to you. We'll let you head off. I'm sure you've got some online shopping to do now. Get a warmer scarf and hat. You're going to need it for that one. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bodo Glimt, Owen, you've watched them through the group stage. They're not to be taken lightly, are they?
Well, look, I know Mourinho at Roma didn't play his strongest team, and he rested a lot of players. And to be fair, after the game, he hammered his reserve players that played. He said that obviously weren't up to the challenge, and praised Bodo Glimt how well they played. But any team that can beat somebody 6-1 is a threat. And I agree with Chris. Ange Postecoglou has Celtic playing great football, really, really attacking football, ambitious at times. Maybe they're always trying to play out from the back, and they love to attack front foot. Defensively, they've had some issue, but it's just because they play so open. The fullbacks get on the ball and get involved in the game. So it should be a really interesting game. Both teams are going to go for it.
And Chris talked about Kyogo being the big miss at the moment, picking up that injury. That's the concern, Mike. He's so key for them, isn't he? They've got to get him back fit and firing.
They have, yeah. Listen, any club around the world misses a certain set amount of players. I've said it before, even the best clubs in the world. You look at the Liverpools and Manchester Cities. If Liverpool have Mo Salah out, Virgil van Dijk out, it weakens their team. So, of course, a team like Celtic are always going to miss their top players. He's done very well. New manager seems to be onto a good thing, the way he's playing. But you always miss goal scorers, you always miss attacking players, and especially at a club like Celtic when you haven't got massive squad. The finances will restrict that. And he's going to have to be very cute in the January transfer window.
But as Chris said, they're playing some really good football, Celtic. They're really entertaining to watch at the moment, aren't they?
They are, and the managers, it's a brand of football that for Celtic that they can go out and attract players because everybody wants to play that type of football. It's a fantastic club. It's a wonderful club. And like Chris said, like losing a few players here, they may bring someone in. It's an easy place to get people to come and play football, Celtic, because of the stature worldwide. And they'll be taking this tournament pretty seriously because, again, they'll be looking over enviously at what Glasgow Rangers are doing on the other side of the city, and they'll want to emulate that. And it's good that we've got two of the big Scottish teams in the late stages of European competition.
They'll fancy their chances of getting through, I'm sure, and also fancying their chances of getting through Leicester City, who are facing a Danish opposition in Randers FC, 5th in the Danish league at the moment. Michael, Brendan Rodgers will be very happy with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I must admit, looking at the draw beforehand, no matter who Leicester got, you'd think, come on, it's Leicester. They're one of the Premier League's best teams over the last few years. So no matter what happened, I think they'll be reasonably pleased. Randers, we don't know much about them. And I'm sure, well, it just depends what Brendan Rodgers wants to do. If he wants to go and win it, then I'm sure he can go very far, if not win this competition. But he might want to, keep his powder dry, attack different competitions, and maybe play a few of his less senior players, let's say, in this one. So that remains to be seen. But as I say, we can look at it and we can build certain teams up and think this and that, but Leicester should be beating anybody that they draw against.
And after they went out in Naples, he said he didn't even know what this competition was, Owen. Now he does. Will he want to go and win it?
Well, when you realise they're the best team left in it, then he'll want to go and win it. But look, this is a difficult fixture. Anytime you need to go and get I think a point was enough for them. I think they started the game quite poorly, but they got back into it. Madison was a feature. Dewsbury Hall was fantastic in the game. He's been really good. It's a great finish from him at the edge of the box there, and that makes it 2-2. That's all they need to go on, and then they'll stay in Europa League. But like all season, defensively, they've conceded so many poor goals, soft goals. Set piece has been a big issue for Brendan, I think, in the side. And obviously, I think with a couple months' time, they can get Fofana back, they can get James Justin back, get a bit of athleticism in that defence, which I think they will need. But any team with Brendan and Kasper Schmeichel and Johnny Evans and Ndidi and Madison and Vardy, they should be just fine. Because the attack is okay. I think defensively, the issues are in the defence at the moment.
Has it really hit home this season just how big a player Fofana is for them?
Yeah, I mean, he's a really, really talented young defender that a lot of teams have been looking at, and he does give them that athleticism. I think Johnny Evans is so important for them, and have it. He gets better having Fofana next to him because it gives him that opportunity to he can coach him through and improve him as well because he's a top player. But I think for Brendan and Leicester, I think it's just where do they put their energy? How do they apply themselves? What sort of team do they play in this competition? Because they are probably the best 1, 2 or 3 teams in this competition, and winning a trophy is very, very difficult. Players go through their whole careers without winning trophies, so any kind of competition, and you can't turn your noses up at this competition. There's a final to play. The Leicester fans, if they got to the final, the Leicester fans will be delighted. They'll be there in their droves. They're used to winning trophies. They've won the Premier League and the FA Cup in recent history. So listen, I think dust yourself down. It didn't happen for you in Europa League. Got a fantastic bunch of players. James Madison is on fire at the moment.
Getting back to his best.
Go and play, go and win the competition, and the fans will absolutely love it.
And one player who will be hoping to get a game in that and put a few past Randers is Patson Daka. Michael, he's made a big impression in the Europa League, hasn't he? Especially against Spartak Moscow. What's impressed you about him?
Well, he has. I mean, his goal scoring since he's been at Leicester has been fantastic, and of course, even Jamie Vardy's had to sit on the bench in yesterday's game, for example. So yeah, it's nice to see new signings come in, take to the Premier League and take to European competition reasonably quickly. His finishing looks very good. left-footed. You know, he doesn't just smack it. He's got a nice composure in front of goal about him. And I think Brendan Rodgers got a few options now. Ike Iheanacho, of course, Vardy's coming. He's towards the end of his career, and the new lad Daka. So he's got options. The squad in general has been so blighted by injuries, and especially to defenders. When we're talking about defenders just there, even last season they started the season with loads of defenders missing through injuries. So it's hard luck that they've had a glut of injuries in one position, but they have got a decent enough squad and more than capable of going far in this competition if they want to.
Yeah, well, it's Randers in the next round for them. So let's have confirmation then of that Europa Conference League playoff round draw, which gets underway in February. And it's Marseille up against Karabakh. PSV face Maccabi Tel Aviv. Fenerbahce up against Slavia Prague. Midtjylland versus PAOK. It's Leicester Randers, as we've just been talking about. Celtic have a trip to the Arctic Circle. They face Roma's conquerors, Bodo Glimt. It's Sparta Prague v Partizan. And Rapid Vienna versus Vitesse or Tottenham, should Tottenham continue in the competition. And a little earlier we had the Europa League playoff round, so let's show you confirmation of that draw. All these teams looking to reach the last 16 and join the likes of West Ham at that stage of the competition. Some brilliant ties in this one as well. Sevilla up against Dinamo Zagreb. Atalanta Olympiacos. RB Leipzig take on Real Sociedad, who are going well at the moment in Spain. Barcelona face Napoli in a tie that looks like a Champions League game. Zenit versus Real Betis. Rangers have drawn Borussia Dortmund. They've got a tough task in that one. It's Sheriff of Moldova against Braga and Porto up against Lazio. And earlier we did have a Champions League draw at 11 o'clock this morning. However, that draw has been ruled void due to a problem earlier. Manchester United were not put in the pot as a possible opponent for Atletico. Originally, they were drawn against Villarreal, a side they couldn't have played. And there is a statement from UEFA who have said, following a technical problem with the software of an external service provider that instructs the officials as to which teams are eligible to play each other, a material error occurred in the draw for the UEFA Champions League round of 16. As a result of this, the draw has been declared void and will be entirely redone at 2 o'clock UK time. And that's what we're going to bring you next. We're going to bring you round 2 of the Champions League draw today. We'll look ahead to it and we'll react to the new last 16 draw in the company of Owen Hargreaves, Michael Owen and Joe Cole. Ready to do it all again?
Let's go.
We'll be back very shortly on BT Sport with the Champions League last 16 draw.